I want you to receive this in the stillness within your own heart. For there are truths that can only be discerned when your soul is no longer swept away by the noise of the world. There are moments along your journey when I do not come with thunder or overwhelming displays of power, but I reach you like the first light of dawn, so gentle that, if you are not watchful, you might dismiss it as nothing more than a passing sensation. Yet it is precisely within that gentleness that I am preserving you from dangers you have not yet perceived. I have placed within you the signals of the Holy Spirit's subtle stirrings in your conscience. At times, an uneasiness without clear explanation. At times, a pause that compels you to stop in the middle of choices that seem entirely reasonable. This is not condemnation, nor is it abandonment. The Lord is my light and my salvation, Psalm 27:1. And that light does not merely illuminate the path ahead, it also exposes the places where you are about to step into harm. You may have often assumed that these inner promptings were merely your imagination, that such restlessness was a form of weakness. But I tell you, my sheep hear my voice, John 10:27. My voice never comes to destroy you, it always leads you back toward life. And at times, warning itself is the deepest expression of love. For no one who truly loves remains silent when they see the one they cherish drawing near the edge. There are moments when you choose the shorter path, the easier one, the road with less resistance, yet it quietly leads you further away from me without your awareness. I do not stand there casting anger upon you. Instead, I place light beneath your feet. As it is written, the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father corrects the son in whom he delights, Proverbs 3:12. That light may make you uncomfortable, for it reveals what you would rather ignore. But if you turn away from it, you will step into the very darkness I have been trying to keep you from. I remember Jonah, who was sent to deliver a warning to Nineveh, yet he fled. Believing he could distance himself from the calling, he boarded a ship and set out in the opposite direction, thinking his silence could dissolve the command. But I did not abandon him in that misdirection. A storm arose upon the sea not to destroy him, but to prevent him from going further down the wrong path. He was cast into the waters, and a great fish swallowed him. This was not blind punishment, but a restraining embrace in the midst of desperation, keeping him from sinking any deeper. In the darkness within the belly of the fish, Jonah came to his senses, and from what seemed like an ending, it became a turning point. Salvation belongs to the Lord, Jonah 2:9. And even when a person runs, my love follows until they return. Do you see? I did not let Jonah be lost. I held him, even through a way he did not expect, in order to preserve the mission within him. Do you see? Even in the midst of turmoil, the first thing I do is not to judge, but to save. For true love does not wait for perfection before it acts. Perhaps you are in a season where you sense many inner promptings, yet you do not fully understand them. You may think you are being restricted, but in truth, I am guarding your steps from unseen pitfalls. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go, Psalm 32:8. But you must be willing to pause in order to listen. I do not want you to walk in fear, but neither do I want you to walk in unawareness. For unawareness can lead you further than you could ever imagine. And when you turn back to look, I do not want you to see a path of ruin, but a journey where I was always there, holding you back at the right moment. If today you feel a certain stirring within your heart, do not dismiss it too quickly. Remain long enough to listen more clearly, for it may be within that very stillness that I am preventing a storm not yet formed, keeping you from a choice you would not wish to step into. My child, I have never left you, even when you thought you were walking alone. Every warning, every sacred unease, is a sign that I am very near. I do not speak to instill fear in you, but that you may live. And if you are willing to pause, you will realize that my hand has never left you, not even for a single moment. I want you to understand this, not as a rebuke, but as an awakening spoken from the deepest place of an unfailing love. There are times when you think you still have plenty of time. Yet in reality, you are standing very close to the boundary of things that cannot be undone. Delay never comes to you with weapons or loud noises. It wraps itself in softness, gentle, quiet, almost like a lullaby. It whispers to you, "Later will do. Not now. There is still time." Yet within that very "there is still time," the most important doors of your life are quietly closing, and you do not hear the sound. Do you recognize it, even in your daily life? I have sown small signs within you, an unexplainable restlessness, a night of incomplete sleep, a familiar joy that suddenly feels dim, a deep inner sense that something must change. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps, Proverbs 16:9. What you think is random is, in truth, the markers I have placed along your path, not to frighten you, but to keep you from going astray. But if you continue in haste, in constant busyness, in postponing what I am gently reminding you within your heart, then you are the one pushing yourself further away from what matters most. It is not that I have left you, rather, you are running without watching the path. And I, in the love of a father, still walk beside you, still speak, still place small signs before you so that you may pause. I recall the parable of the 10 virgins that I spoke in the scriptures. 5 were wise and brought oil for their lamps, while 5 were foolish and made no preparation. When the bridegroom came unexpectedly, the wise entered the wedding feast, but the others were left outside in the lateness of their own delay. And I said, "Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour." Matthew 25:13. This is not a word meant to instill fear, but an invitation to wakefulness, for there are moments in life that cannot be repeated, and opportunities that, once missed, will not return in the same way again. My beloved, I have not set traps along your path. The enemy of your soul is the one who sows distraction and delay, persuading you that everything can be put off until later. But I am different. I place light upon each of your steps, not a light that blinds you, but one that is sufficient for you to see clearly where you are going. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. That light does not force you. It invites you to walk in awareness. I do not depart from you, even when you no longer perceive my presence clearly. There are times when you think I am silent, yet I am speaking in ways you have not yet learned to hear. That silence is not absence. It is a space for you to recognize that I am still there, nearer than your very breath. But if you fill your life with the noise of delay, of busyness, of what is unnecessary, you will no longer hear that whisper. I want you to remember Peter when he walked upon the water. As long as his eyes were fixed on me, he was able to walk upon what was impossible. But when he looked at the wind and the waves, he began to sink. In that very moment, I did not stand at a distance. I reached out my hand immediately. O you of little faith, why did you doubt? Matthew 14:31. Not to condemn, but to draw him back into life. Do you see? Even when you waver because of delay, I am never absent from your life. Perhaps you think you are waiting for the right moment, but I tell you this, the moment does not simply arrive, it is stepped into today, if you hear his voice. Do not harden your hearts, Hebrews 3:15, for today is where life is unfolding. Tomorrow promises nothing, and delay if prolonged long enough, will turn what is alive into memories filled with regret. I am calling you not to take away your freedom, but to lead you into a fuller life. I remind you not because you are weak, but because you are precious. A true father does not remain silent when his child is approaching danger. Neither do I. Every prompting within your heart is not pressure, but a gentle hand drawing you back, so that you do not step into what would later bring regret. Listen to me today, not with fear, but with the awareness that true love never allows you to drift away in silence. And if you pause, even for a moment, you will see that I have never left you. And every one of my reminders carries the form of a love that is keeping you from what you cannot yet save yourself from. If today your heart stirs as you encounter these words, do not quickly dismiss it as a fleeting emotion. I am knocking at the door of your heart not with thunder, not with force, but with the patience of a love that does not withdraw. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. Revelation 3:20. That knocking does not break in, yet it is clear enough for a sleeping soul to awaken. I am not calling you back so that you would fear yourself, nor to bind you in guilt. I call you so that you may return to true life. For I know there are paths you have walked for so long in unawareness that you no longer recognize what is light and what has become a habit that quietly diminishes you. Yet, if you pause for even a single moment, if you turn ever so slightly, you will find that I am already there, no farther than a single step away. Understand this, I do not require you to run quickly. I do not measure you by speed, but by direction. One step turning toward the light is more precious than 1,000 steps taken in darkness. Return to me, and I will return to you. Malachi 3:7. And from the very moment you choose to turn, I will walk with you, not leaving you to find your way alone, but ensuring that every step you take is upheld by my presence. As my light begins to shine more clearly in your life, you will start to see what was once hidden, not because I wish to make you afraid, but because light is truthful by nature. It reveals in order to heal. You will begin to realize that not everything familiar brings life. There are patterns repeated each day that seem harmless, yet quietly wear down your inner strength. A small habit, a seemingly insignificant choice, a way of spending time in aimlessness, a recurring loop of negative thoughts, a delay stretched out over time. All of these are not loud, yet they are persistent, like water dripping upon stone. And one day, you will find yourself exhausted, not even knowing where it all began. Be very careful. Then, how you live not as unwise, but as wise. Ephesians 5:15. The wisdom I give you is not for you to control everything by your own strength, but for you to discern what is nourishing you and what is draining you. I do not come to point a finger in condemnation at your habits, but to walk with you as you untangle what has become unconscious within you. In the same way, you may be living a life that appears full, yet is lacking true life. You may be doing many things, while your soul is quietly drying up without your awareness. And I am gently drawing you back to what is essential, my presence within every rhythm of your life. There are habits that are not overtly wrong, yet they gradually pull you away from the stillness needed to hear my voice. There are distractions that are not immediately dangerous, yet they dull the sensitivity of your soul. And when the soul is no longer sensitive, it becomes difficult to distinguish between the voice that guides and the voices that pull you away. But I do not leave you alone in this process of awakening. On the contrary, the very light increasing within you is a sign that I am restoring your ability to discern. Light shines on the righteous, Psalm 97:11. That light is not only to show you the path, but also to help you see yourself more clearly. You may feel a measure of discomfort as you begin to recognize these things. This is natural, for light always reveals the familiar places you once leaned upon. But do not be afraid. I do not allow you to see so that you may be wounded, but so that you may be set free. I want you to receive these words, not as condemnation, but as truth spoken from an unchanging love, for I know there have been moments when you chose what felt easier, simply to avoid the tension of change. One step back to find temporary ease. One silence to avoid confrontation. One quiet assurance to yourself that it can wait. And those small moments do not remain isolated. They quietly join together into a current, carrying you further than you ever intended to go. There is no beginning so large that you immediately recognize its consequences. But let me give you an image so you may understand. A drop of poison falling each day may not alarm you, yet it patiently seeps through the soil, through every root, until an entire forest grows weak without anyone knowing when it began. See to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. Hebrews 12:15. The danger does not lie in the first moment, but in becoming accustomed to it. I see clearly how people rename the very things that are leading them away from life. You call it personality, habit. Everyone does it, or just a little. But truth does not change simply because you change its name. And I do not say this to weigh you down, but to set you free. For no one can be healed if they no longer dare to call by its true name what is binding them. My beloved, every action you choose carries a depth beyond its surface. A word that seems harmless may sow coldness. A glance that appears fleeting may carry quiet contempt. A night spent in aimlessness instead of remaining with me in stillness. A way of eating to escape your emotions rather than facing them. These are not merely behaviors. They are subtle directions in which you are handing control over to your emotions instead of to me. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. And where you place your treasure will determine what is guiding you. When you repeat small choices without awareness, they begin to carve pathways within your soul. And those pathways do not require loud moments to form. They only require repetition, sustained in silence. I have given you your body not as a burden, but as a finely tuned instrument for living fully upon this earth. Every heartbeat, every breath, every limitation of your body carries the wisdom of the Creator. When you misuse it, when you ignore the signals of fatigue, when you push it beyond its limits in unawareness, you are, in effect, diminishing the gift I have entrusted to you. Yet I do not say this to bind you in guilt, but so that you may relearn how to honor the life I have placed within you. So it is with your soul. It was not created to carry bitterness, envy, delay, or indulgence. It was created to reflect my life. But when you allow these things to accumulate day after day, you place upon it burdens that do not belong to it. And then you will find yourself weary without understanding why, depleted without knowing the cause. Disobedience, my child, rarely appears in grand forms. It begins in the smallest things you overlook. A moment when you know what is right but do not act. A moment when you hear my prompting within but choose to delay. A moment when you see the light clearly but turn away because it requires change. And those moments, if left unrecognized, will quietly weaken the sensitivity of your soul. Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts, Hebrews 3:15. A hardened heart does not form in a single day. It is shaped through the repeated act of ignoring my gentle call. And when this continues, you will find yourself gradually losing the courage you once had, the courage that enabled you to stand firm in trials, that empowered you to choose what is right even when it was difficult. But I do not stand by in silence as you drift away. I speak from the very first missteps not to frighten you, but to prevent you from going further than you can return on your own. For I see not only your present, but also where you are headed if you continue along that path. Do you remember Peter, when he walked upon the water? He did what no one thought possible, only because his gaze was fixed on me. But when he began to focus on the wind and the waves, he started to sink. And immediately, I reached out my hand, not allowing him to sink deeper, not letting him be lost beneath the waters, but holding him at the right moment. Matthew 14:30-31. This is how I always act. I intervene early, so that you are not carried too far away. I do not wait until you are broken to call you back. I call you the moment you begin to slip away from true life. For I love you not only at the destination, but in every step you are taking. And if today you are able to hear this, it is not by chance. It is a sign that I am still preserving you, still drawing you back into awareness, into the light, and into the path you were created to walk. I do not call you into a life merely to avoid what is wrong, nor do I lead you only so that you may remain safe in the limited way the world understands. I call you into fullness of life, where your soul is awakened, where your mind is no longer clouded, and where each day is no longer a cycle of mere existence, but a living stream of light and wisdom. I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. John 10:10. This is not a distant promise, but a reality I desire for you to step into with every breath. But you must understand, this life does not come automatically. It is formed through discipline infused with love, not the discipline of pressure or fear, but the discipline of one who understands that every small choice is either building or dismantling their own future. When you dare to say no to what is momentarily comfortable, you are saying yes to something greater that you cannot yet see. When you refuse a compromising habit today, you are opening a door of freedom for tomorrow. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of self-control. 2 Timothy 1-7. That self-control is not a burden, but the mark of a soul being restored into the order of life. I want you to learn to treat your body as a temple, not as a tool for momentary indulgence. I have placed life within every breath you take, not for you to exhaust it unconsciously, but for you to live with deep reverence for that gift. When you listen to your body, when you know how to pause before excess, when you choose to nourish rather than to misuse, you are entering into a form of worship that is quiet yet deeper than words. In the same way, time is not something that simply passes for you to consume. It is a sacred river I have entrusted into your hands to steward. Every moment you use is shaping your soul. And when you choose words that heal instead of words that wound, when you choose forgiveness instead of holding on to the weight of resentment, you are stepping into the true nature of the love I placed within you from the beginning. These things may seem small, yet they are the very foundation of a life built in the light. No great faithfulness is ever formed apart from small choices, repeated quietly over time. I know there will be moments when you feel weary in this journey. There will be times when you feel you lack the strength to remain disciplined, the steadiness to stand firm, the clarity to continue. You may fall. You may feel like letting go. You may even question whether any of your effort truly matters. But it is precisely in those moments that I do not withdraw from you. On the contrary, I draw nearer. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. Isaiah 42:3. I do not love you because you are perfect. I love you because you belong to me, even in your weakest moments. Yet neither will I allow you to remain in a life of compromise. For you were not created merely to pass through your days, but to reflect the glory of my life in this world. And so, even when you are tired, I gently draw you back to the path of awareness, not by pressure, but by the steadfastness of a love that never lets go. Let me take your hand in this journey, not in haste, not with force, but step by step, leading you out of the haze of habit into the light of truth. For there are familiar things that, if left unexamined, can become gilded chains, beautiful on the outside, yet binding within. Many times, I have placed signs in your life before danger draws near, like the sky changing color before a storm, like the stillness of the wind before the tempest rises, like a quiet unease in your heart before you begin to drift. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. Matthew 24-42. Watchfulness is not a life of fear, but a life lived with eyes open to my leading. I do not act only after everything has fallen apart. I intervene when you have just begun to stray, not because you are weak, but because you are precious, not because you are lacking, but because you carry a value you have not yet fully seen. And this world constantly seeks to trade your soul for temporary comfort, for choices that appear harmless. But I will not remain silent as you slowly drift from the light. I will not turn away when you begin to lose your way. I will speak. I will place pauses along your path. I will interrupt the things that are pulling you away from true life, not to cause you pain, but to rescue you from a loss far greater than anything you can imagine. And if you are able to hear me today, it is not by chance. It is a reminder that I am still here, going before you, walking beside you, and holding you back even before you realize that you are being carefully preserved with every step. I want you to pause for a few breaths and receive this, not with your ears, but with your soul. Do not mistake my silence for absence, nor interpret the firmness of love as abandonment. There are times when I do not speak much, yet that does not mean I am not acting. There are times when I do not indulge what feels comfortable to you, yet that does not mean I have drawn away. On the contrary, it is often when you think you have been left alone that I am intervening most deeply in the direction of your life. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, as a father disciplines the son he delights in. Proverbs 3:12. That discipline is not punishment, but a restraining hand that holds you back before you fall into something whose consequences you do not yet fully understand. My child, there are forms of mercy that do not appear gentle on the surface. It may feel like a sudden pull when you are about to step into danger. It may come as a voice that startles you while you are rushing toward something that seems right. It may appear as an inner disruption, as the loss of a false stability you once depended on. Yet all of it carries the same meaning. I am holding you back. I do not stand still while you move toward choices that could break you from within. I do not allow you to enter doors that seem like opportunities, but actually lead to a deeper emptiness than you can imagine. There are times when I slow down your plans, times when I close paths you believed were opening wide, times when I remove something you thought indispensable, but you do not yet see the whole picture. For I know the plans I have for you, Jeremiah 29-11. Those plans are not limited by your immediate desires, but are woven from eternal wisdom, where there is no error, no deficiency. There are things that, if you were to receive them too early, would become burdens instead of blessings. There are doors that, if opened at the wrong time, would not lead you to fulfillment but to a subtle emptiness. And I, seeing the road ahead in its entirety, must at times restrain you precisely at the point where you believe you are most right. I know you may call this adversity. You may think you are being delayed, obstructed, deprived of what you deserve. But I tell you, nothing in my hands is ever a true loss to you. There is only exchange something better, deeper, more real that you have not yet perceived. My beloved, learn to listen to the quiet places within your heart. For there, I am still speaking, not with noise, not with pressure, but with the gentle clarity of one who never contradicts true life. When you sense a small prompting that restrains you from continuing in a certain direction, it is not random anxiety. It is my whisper. Your ears will hear a voice behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it," Isaiah 30-21. But you must pause long enough to hear it. If you keep running, if you keep filling your life with the noise of hurried choices, you will lose the ability to distinguish between guidance and the impulses of your own emotions. I do not warn once and then fall silent. I am patient. I remind you again. I knock more than once. But you must also understand this. When you continually ignore me, it is not that I withdraw, it is that you are weakening your own ability to hear. And one day, it will not be that I am quieter, but that your heart has become too loud to recognize me. There are opportunities bound to their appointed time, not because I limit you, but because you are living within a current of time ordered by wisdom. I see the full picture that you do not yet see. I know when it is time to step forward, when it is time to pause, and which doors open only within a certain season. If you delay too long, you do not lose me, but you may miss the rhythm of what I am doing. You may think you are still in control, but I tell you this, true control exists only in connection with me. When I am at the center, you stand secure. When I am pushed to the margins, everything you try to hold together by your own strength will eventually begin to shake. Yet, even in that instability, I am still here, not a step away, ready to steady you, ready to lead you back, ready to restore order to what has been unsettled within you. For to me, you are never something to be abandoned along the way. You are the one I continually pursue with an unchanging love. I do not intervene in your life as a force that imposes, but as a father who will not allow you to lose yourself in what you think is harmless. For I see more clearly than you small choices, repeated habits, indulged emotions, and delays you consider normal. All of these are gradually leading you toward spiritual dead ends that, if left unaddressed, you will not be able to escape on your own. But my child, my mercy is not a resource that runs dry. It does not grow weary. The only thing that prevents it from fully operating in your life is when you close your heart. For I do not force love, I invite it. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. But you must come. You must acknowledge. You must speak, not with perfect words, but with a simple truth. I need you. That one sentence alone is enough to open a door you thought had been shut. And when you do, I do not stand at a distance. I step in immediately, not leaving you to manage the broken pieces within yourself. There are places within you that need to be stirred again, not to wound you, but to bring you back to life. For I know there are areas of your heart that have grown numb, not because you are weak, but because you have been hurt. There are disappointments you have not named, promises that once gave you hope but later left you broken, efforts you made that were never returned. And so, you have learned to withdraw, to dim your hope, to soften your feelings, to live safely within a quiet numbness. But I did not create you to exist in a state that is half alive and half numb. I created you so that your soul would be able to respond to true life. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. Ezekiel 36:26. That renewal is not merely an outward change, but a resurrection from within the very places that once seemed incapable of feeling again. I desire to awaken in you what you thought had fallen asleep, the capacity to hope, the ability to love, the trust you once lost, not through force, but through the gentle yet profound touch of my spirit. And when this happens, you will realize that you are no longer bound by the old layers that once enclosed you. My child, a storm may be drawing near in your life, not to destroy you, but to reveal what is truly standing firm and what is unstable. Yet remember, the Lord is a stronghold in the day of trouble. Nahum 1-7. When you hold fast to me, no force can carry you away from my keeping. But today, I want to lead you into a deeper level of awareness. For you are living in a world where many things are called freedom. Yet not every form of freedom brings life. There are things that appear to be freedom, but are in truth a cleverly disguised form of bondage. There are choices that offer immediate comfort, yet quietly take away your capacity for true freedom. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. Yet truth is not always comfortable at first, because it confronts what you have grown accustomed to calling normal. There are things you believe to be your own choices, yet they are in fact unconscious reactions to emotions, pressures, or habits. There are things you call freedom, but they are merely the repetition of old patterns that keep you trapped in a cycle with no way out. And I do not say this to frighten you, but to help you see clearly. True freedom never comes from doing whatever you desire in the moment. My beloved, I do not deny your emotions. I created you with the capacity to feel, to be moved, to love, to grieve, to rejoice. But I want you to understand something deeper. Emotions were not designed to be your guide. They are like the waves of the sea, beautiful, powerful, capable of lifting you in a moment, yet just as capable of pulling you off course if you cling to them too tightly. The heart is deceitful above all things. Jeremiah 17:9 is not spoken so that you would despise yourself, but so that you would understand. You cannot build a stable life upon the shifting ground within you. Emotions can carry you to peaks of passion, only to draw you down into confusion you cannot explain. One day you feel strong enough to overcome anything. The next, you feel like letting everything go. In one moment, you open your heart to others. In another, you wish to disappear from the world. If you allow your emotions to lead, you will live in constant fluctuation within yourself. But I do not fluctuate. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Hebrews 13:8. That is why I invite you into obedience, not as a restriction of who you are, but as an anchor when everything within you feels unstable. Obedience to me is not the abandonment of your will, but the restoration of your will into its rightful order. It is when you say, no matter what I feel, I choose what I know is right in you. This is not the suppression of emotion, but the transcendence of emotion through a deeper awareness. I do not require you to be without emotion, but I invite you not to be ruled by it. For you were not created to be carried away by every inner wave. You were created to stand firm in me, even when your inner world is unsettled. I know you have stood in that tension before. There are times when my voice within you is gentle, almost a whisper, while your emotions are loud, intense, and easily capture your attention. And there have been moments when you followed your emotions not because you intended to walk away from me, but because in that moment they felt more real, more immediate, easier to hear. But my child, what is strong is not always what is right, and what is loud is not always what is true. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. True understanding is born in stillness, not in being swept away. I do not judge you for the times you have been led by your emotions. I understand you more than you understand yourself. But I want you to begin observing what follows afterward. After a choice shaped by emotion, what remains within you? A lasting lightness, or a new emptiness? A deep peace, or a cycle of restless thoughts? True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you desire, but the ability to no longer be ruled by what binds you within, not led by fear, not pulled by emotion, not held back by the past, not shaped by the pressure of others. That is where obedience becomes a doorway, not a door of restriction, but a door of liberation from the very things that have been causing you to lose your direction. I have not come to make you smaller. I have come to make you more real, not a version of yourself driven by every inner fluctuation, but a person grounded in the awareness that there is one who does not change, guiding every step you take. And if today you begin to recognize the difference between what you feel and what I am leading you into, that is not contradiction within you. It is the beginning of spiritual maturity, the place where you no longer live passively according to the waves, but begin to stand upon the voice of the one who never changes. I want you to receive this as something deeply established within your soul, not to impose upon you, but to free you from misunderstandings that have followed you for too long. Obedience does not strip away your identity. On the contrary, it is the process I use to refine and shape your identity into alignment with my original design. For you were not created to be governed by wounds, defensive reflexes, or unhealed memories. You were created to reflect my light in a form that is uniquely yours and cannot be replaced. For we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus. Ephesians 2:10. A work does not form itself out of chaos. It is crafted by one who has intention, wisdom, and perfect love. My beloved, when you step into obedience, you do not lose true agency. You are entrusting the steering of your life to the one who knows the path you have never walked. You may think that holding tightly to every decision is what keeps you safe. But I tell you, it is the attempt to control everything that exhausts you and leads you most easily astray. Obedience is not surrendering into passivity. It is trusting deeply enough that you no longer have to strain to hold everything together by your own strength. I do not want you to live as one who is constantly on guard, always defending yourself from everything, even from your own life. When you lay down your shield, it is not because you are weak, but because you recognize that you were not created to fight alone. I am the one who covers you. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. Psalm 121:5. My protection does not come after you fall. It goes before every step you take. There are things you call freedom, yet in truth, they are subtle dependencies on inner impulses that have not been brought into the light. Emotions that are not guided will become the most demanding rulers. Desires that are not rightly ordered will become invisible barriers, keeping you from stepping into true life. And your attempt to just be yourself without guidance can, at times, lead you into a prison that is difficult to recognize, a place where you believe you are free, yet are in fact being governed by your own reactions. But I have not come to confine you within rigid patterns. I have come to free you from those unseen chains. I want you to live as a child, not as a servant to your shifting inner states. So, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. John 8:36. True freedom is not found in following every feeling, but in no longer being ruled by them. You will come to realize that obedience does not weigh you down, it makes you lighter. For when you are no longer carrying the burden of controlling every outcome, you begin to enter into rest within your soul. I did not create you to live under the constant strain of directing everything on your own. I created you to be led. There will be times when my path does not align with your expectations. There will be moments when you look at others and wonder why they seem able to live in ways that you are not permitted. But my child, I did not create you to replicate another's life. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1-5. You are an original intention from me, not a copy in the world's chain of comparison. Light cannot shine if it remains hidden in the shadows of compromise, and neither can you if you continue to live in order to satisfy every voice around you. You will gradually lose the brightness I placed within you from the beginning. Obedience to me will at times require you to step beyond the comfort of what is familiar, not because I wish to trouble you, but because I am leading you to where you truly belong. I know there will be moments when your hands tremble as you choose what is right instead of what feels easy. There will be times when you feel the tension between your present emotions and the deeper leading within you. But it is in those very moments that you stand before the doorway of spiritual maturity. And each time you choose to trust me more than your own fluctuations, you take another step into true freedom. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3-5-6. I do not take away your ability to think. I place it in its rightful order under the guidance of the one who sees the whole path. My beloved, true freedom does not come from being without restraint, but from being anchored in what does not change. When you abide in me, you are no longer carried away by every inner wave. You begin to stand firm, not because you are strong in yourself, but because you are being held. And as you walk in that obedience, you will discover something deeper. You are not being diminished, but restored to your true measure, a child who is loved, guided, and kept within a light that never fades. As you continue stepping into this obedience, I want you to recognize a deeper truth, one that not everyone is willing to face. Not everything that feels reassuring comes from me. There is a kind of peace that is merely a thin covering over dependency, rationalized over time. It is not loud, not shocking, not alarming. It simply keeps you in the same place, gently, quietly, until you forget that you were ever called to move forward. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 14:12. That path does not always appear dangerous. On the contrary, it often feels familiar, comfortable, and reasonable, so much so that you see no need to leave it. I am leading you beyond the surface of life, into a place where you begin to discern what truly sustains you and what merely conditions you to remain unchanged. There are things you call stability that are, in truth, stagnation disguised as safety. There are things you call peace that are actually the gradual numbing of your soul. My child, as you begin to no longer be led by emotion, as you learn to obey rather than react, your eyes will open to a deeper awareness. You will see that not everything familiar is where I have placed you to remain. Some things are simply places where you have stayed so long that you have mistaken them for the definition of your life. It may be a relationship where you continually strive to preserve harmony at the cost of your inner truth. It may be an environment that feels safe because it demands nothing more of you, yet slowly diminishes the desires I have placed within you. It may be habits you repeat to soothe temporary emptiness, yet they never heal the deeper thirst within your soul. I do not speak these things so that you would turn away from your life, but so that you may begin to see more clearly what is truly nourishing you, and what is merely conditioning you to live less than fully. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. That transformation does not begin with grand actions, but with the ability to discern the difference between what is true and what is merely familiar. My child, I know you have been hurt. I do not diminish that. I do not deny the fractures that have formed within your heart over time. And because of that, you have turned toward what is familiar not because it is best, but because it does not frighten you further. Familiarity can be like an old blanket, no longer whole, yet enough to make you feel that you are not entirely abandoned. But I did not create you to live beneath an old covering of the past. I created you to be clothed in new life, a life not confined by unhealed memories. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, all things have become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. I do not only want you to feel safe, I want you to be truly free. And freedom is never built upon avoidance, but upon healing. You may not yet realize it, but there are things in your life that are gradually taking my place. Not because you intend it, but because you seek quick comfort more readily than deep presence. And anything that begins to replace me within your heart, no matter how subtle, becomes a form of bondage, even if it is dressed in the appearance of stability. But I have not come to strip away everything you are holding on to. I have come to show you what is holding you back and what is lifting you up. I do not come to tear your life apart. I come to rebuild it. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43-19. That new thing is not merely external change, but a reordering of your entire inner world where the old no longer has authority to define who you are. My beloved, I do not lead you out of the familiar only to bring you into uncertainty. I lead you out of former limitations to bring you into a broader life you have not yet experienced. But to enter it, you must be willing to release what once helped you survive, but can no longer help you truly live. There will be moments when you feel as though you are standing between two worlds. On one side, the familiar that offers a sense of safety. On the other, my calling, leading you into what is unknown. And in that moment, you will not choose by emotion, but by trust. I do not ask you to understand the entire path before you take a step. I simply invite you to walk with me, one step at a time. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3-5. For there are things you will only see clearly after you have left what is behind. You will come to understand that true freedom is not the absence of all constraint, but the absence of bondage to what is misaligned, no longer being pulled by unconscious habits, no longer being held back by fears disguised as stability. And as you walk with me through this process, you will discover something. What you once believed to be safe was only a place of temporary shelter. What I have prepared for you, that is where you truly belong. Not because it is easier, but because it is more real. Not because it is familiar, but because it frees you to become who you are in a light that is no longer obscured. I want you to receive this not as pressure, but as an awakening born of a love that does not grow weary. There are things you continue to hold on to simply because they have been there for so long that you no longer question whether they still belong in your life. But my child, time is not the measure of value. Something that has endured does not mean it still carries life. Test all things. Hold fast what is good. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Wisdom is not found in keeping everything, but in discerning what nourishes you and what slowly drains you. Let me give you an image so you may see more clearly. There are things like a tree that has become hollow from within. Outwardly, it still stands familiar, even reassuring because it has long been part of your life. But within, life has departed. It no longer bears fruit, no longer offers shade, no longer nourishes anything. It remains only as the shape of the past. And if you keep it simply because it is familiar, you are allowing something lifeless to occupy space in the garden I desire to renew within you. In the same way, there are walls you have built or unconsciously maintained. They once gave you a sense of safety, helped you avoid harm, served as support when everything felt uncertain, but time has changed their meaning. There are walls that, at a certain point, no longer protect you. They block the light. And I stand there, not to break you, but to invite you to see what is keeping you in the shade when the light is waiting to pour in. God is light, 1 John 1-5, and that light never harms you. It reveals in order to heal, it illuminates in order to set free. My beloved, I know there are things you hold on to, not because they are perfect, but because they are familiar. And familiarity can create a false sense of safety, a feeling that if you let go, you will fall into an unnamed emptiness. But I tell you, It is in the letting go that you begin to see what truly sustains you. Do not be afraid to name your chains, even when they appear gentle, for there are chains that do not bind through pain, but through familiarity. You do not recognize them as bondage because you have lived within their limits for so long. But you were not created to walk limping through your spiritual life. You were created to walk steadily, freely, and fully in me. I have come to proclaim freedom for the captives, Isaiah 61:1. Yet that freedom always begins with recognition. I do not break you with force. I open your eyes with light. You must have the courage to speak truthfully to yourself and to me. I have held on to this for too long, not because it still lives, but because I fear the emptiness if I release it. And that truth, though fragile, becomes the very beginning of freedom. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. It is not emotional intensity that frees you, nor your own striving, but truth acknowledged in the light of my presence. I do not come to snatch from your hands what you are holding. I come to help you open them, and the difference is essential. I do not take away in order to leave you empty, but to fill you with what is better, more alive, and more aligned with who you truly are. But you must be willing to cooperate. I do not force healing, I invite it. I place before you a question, not to condemn, but to awaken you. Is this still nourishing you? Or is it quietly draining the life within you? Perhaps you still love something, a relationship, an old dream, a habit that once felt like refuge. I do not deny that feeling, but I want you to discern clearly, is that love still leading you toward life? Or is it holding you in a cycle with no way forward? My beloved, there are chains that do not cause immediate pain. They do not suffocate you, nor do they make you collapse at once. They are more subtle than that. They dull you. They accustom you to not going further. They quietly erode the sharpness of your soul without your awareness. But I did not create you to live dimly within the confines of false safety. I created you to walk in the fullness of life. Stand firm, then, in the freedom for which Christ has set us free. Galatians 5:1. Freedom is not accidental. It is the result of a deliberate journey of release. And as you begin to let go of those worn things, as you allow me to touch the places that are familiar yet no longer alive, you will see this begin to happen. Light will start to enter, not loudly, but surely, not to break you, but to bring you into clarity like never before. And there, if you no longer turn away, if you do not retreat when the light reaches the deepest places within you, you will discover this: no darkness is stronger than truth, and no chain is stronger than the light I am shining into your soul. I want you to receive this, not as a threat, but as a gentle unveiling of light entering the places you have long avoided. Darkness is not only the absence of light, it is the environment where what remains unaddressed is allowed to grow without being questioned. And when something is not questioned, it gradually becomes a force that governs your life without your awareness. You may think, no one knows about this. You may reassure yourself that you are still in control. But I tell you the truth you need to hear. Nothing kept in darkness remains without shaping you from within. For darkness always creates the illusion of control, while in reality, you are being led by what you have not yet faced. But I do not come to you as an accuser. I do not stand before you as thunder of condemnation. I come as light patiently, waiting to be turned on in the room where you have grown accustomed to living in dimness. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness. John 8:12. My light does not destroy you. It breaks the dominion of what has been hidden within you. There are things within you that have not been named, not because they are too great, but because you have learned to call them normal. And it is that normalization that makes them dangerous. For what is not named is not confronted. What is not confronted is not healed. And what is not healed continues to govern you. But, my child, it takes only a moment of honesty for everything to begin to change. The moment you dare to say, Lord, this is what exists within me. Its power has already begun to break, not because you are stronger than it, but because light has been invited into the very place where it has been hiding. I am not surprised by what you are wrestling with inside. I do not look at you with distance. I see you with a deeper understanding than you have of yourself. For many desires are not born from corruption, but from wounds that have not yet been touched. There are thirsts within you that are not wrong, but are signals of something that has been lacking for too long. You long to be recognized because there was a time you were overlooked. You seek control because you have known helplessness. You pursue intense stimulation because there are empty spaces within you that have been left unattended for too long. My beloved, light does not wound you. It reveals what has been there all along. And truth, even when it causes you to tremble, is always the only path that leads to real freedom. No freedom is built upon concealment. Freedom always begins with truth acknowledged. When you dare to confess, you do not become weaker, you become more real. And in my kingdom, authenticity is always the first doorway to transformation. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. Not perfection, not absolute self-control, but truth brought into the light. For the true power of darkness does not lie in its strength, but in human silence before it. When you remain silent, it grows. When you name it, it begins to lose its hold. When you pray, it can no longer remain hidden. And when you say, Lord, this is me, in truth, that is not your end. It is the beginning of the freedom I have always been waiting to give you. My light does not only expose what is wrong, it also melts what your will alone cannot overcome. Your effort has value, but it is not the ultimate source of transformation. Light is what breaks the power of darkness naturally, without the need for prolonged striving. You will begin to realize that you no longer need to fear what is happening within you, not because those things disappear immediately, but because they no longer hold authority over you as they once did. This is the beginning of true strength, not when desire no longer exists, but when desire is no longer the one steering your life. I have not come to take life away from you, but to restore its flow. For I know that what is most precious within you is not the image you try to maintain before others, nor the achievements you pursue, but the very life I breathed into you from the beginning, a pure life, not yet distorted by fear or concealment. And I am leading you to a place where that life can flow freely again. But you must learn something essential. You do not need to wait until you feel whole before you come near to me. It is precisely in your inner struggle that I work most deeply. Light does not wait for you to be perfect. Light comes to make you whole. And when you allow me to enter those deepest places, you will discover something unexpected. There is nothing within you that must remain hidden in fear, for everything brought into the light begins to be healed. And in that healing, you will find a freedom no longer governed by darkness, but guided by the life flowing from me within you. If you are walking in a direction I have opened, you will recognize something distinct, even amid challenges, even amid uncertainty. There will be a quiet steadiness deep within you, not born of logic, but of my presence. But if what you experience is prolonged confusion, prolonged fear, prolonged disorientation, I want you to pause, not in panic, but to listen again. My beloved, there are things holding you back, not because you lack ability, but because you fear failure. You fear that if you step out, you will not be enough. You fear that if you release what is old, nothing new will come. You fear that if you commit, nothing will return to you. I know this. I see the tension within you. But I also want you to understand another truth. Faith never requires guarantees in advance. The righteous shall live by faith, Romans 1:17. This means you move forward not because you see the outcome clearly, but because you know who walks with you. I do not promise you an easy path, but I promise you this. No act of faithfulness toward what is right will be wasted. No step you take in obedience will be meaningless. I am writing a new chapter in your life, not based on your past failures, nor on your fears, but on your present willingness, even if it is fragile, even if you are still learning, even if you still have many questions. And I want you to remember this: you never walk alone. There is no moment in this journey when I leave you. I will never leave you nor forsake you, Hebrews 13:5. Therefore, walk not with the pressure of having to prove anything, but with the peace of one who knows they are loved and guided step by step. And in that peace, you will begin to realize you are not being slowed down, you are being formed. You are not lost, you are being led back into alignment with what I have intended for you from the beginning. My beloved, you are closer than you think, not in a way you can measure by feeling, but in the quiet way I am arranging things within you. Restoration does not always come like a great wave. More often it comes like the dawn no one sees the moment it begins. Yet everyone recognizes when it has arrived. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act, Psalm 37:5. Not with noise, but with unwavering faithfulness. I am working within you in ways you cannot yet fully perceive. There are things being reconnected, things being healed, things being set back into order, even if you cannot yet sense the movement. But I do not cease. You need only keep walking, not with perfect strength, but with a heart that does not give up. I know you do not always feel strong, but I do not require strength in the way you imagine. I ask for faithfulness. For whoever is faithful in little is also faithful in much, Luke 16:10. And those small steps are building something far greater than you can see. You are not walking in aimless darkness. You are walking with a lamp I hold in my hand, enough light for each next step. Not to show you the entire path, but to ensure you never walk alone. I have planted within you a hope that is not easily broken. But hope does not grow on its own. It must be tended through faithfulness, through small but consistent choices, through continuing to walk even when you cannot yet see the whole path. There are times when your perseverance in the midst of inner brokenness becomes the most powerful testimony, not because you have never been weak, but because you have been weak and still risen again, not because you have never stumbled, but because you have stumbled and still kept walking. That is what marks your life with something words cannot replace. My beloved, many stand at the edge of true life. They hear about faith. They hear about transformation. They hear about light, yet they do not cross the threshold. For doubt is familiar, while stepping into faith requires letting go. And so they remain in a place of almost changed, almost healed, almost free, but never fully stepping in. But you are not called to live in that in-between place. You have begun to see more clearly. You have begun to discern what is real and what is only a shadow. And the very fact that you are beginning to recognize this is a sign that I am awakening you more deeply. I know there are still days when you grow weary. There are moments when you sit and wonder whether all your effort has meaning. There are times when giving up seems easier than continuing, not because you are weak, but because you have endured enough to feel exhausted. A bruised reed he will not break, Isaiah 42:3. I do not stand at a distance when you grow weak. I do not withdraw when you slow down. I come near to preserve the life that remains within you, even if it feels like only a small flicker you can barely perceive. You are no longer walking merely out of effort, but because a flame within you has been rekindled. It may not be large at once, but it is real. And from that flame, light will begin to spread, not only for you, but for those around you who are still walking in dimness. Trust that the one who spoke and the universe came into being, Genesis 1-3, is the same one who is quietly weaving every detail of your personal life. Nothing in your journey lies outside my sight. Not a single moment is wasted. Not a single tear is forgotten. My beloved, I do not govern your life by randomness. I do not leave the fragments of your experiences scattered without purpose. There are pieces within you that you believe are broken, but in my hands, nothing is beyond restoration. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, Romans 8:28. Even what is imperfect, I am able to use to form something whole according to my way. Hold these words not only in your memory, but in the deepest place of your heart, the place you return to when everything around you grows dim. Let them become an anchor, not because the words themselves carry power, but because they remind you of the one who holds your entire journey. Like a compass in the night, it does not remove the darkness, but it keeps you from losing your direction. Like a whisper amid noise, it does not need to be loud, yet it is enough to draw you back to truth. That grace is not fragile. It is not easily broken by your mistakes, not exhausted by your weariness, not limited by your stumbles. It is deep enough to reach every fractured place within you, wide enough to cover the parts you have not yet dared to face, and strong enough to lift you from places you cannot escape on your own. My grace is sufficient for you, 2 Corinthians 12-9. Not sufficient in a temporary sense, but sufficient in fullness. My beloved, I do not promise you a journey without valleys, but I promise you this: no valley is deep enough to separate you from my hand unless you choose to let go. No failure can bring an end to what I have begun in you. No brokenness lies beyond my ability to restore. I am not only drawing you out of what is harmful, I am leading you into a deeper restoration, where even the places that were most wounded become the very places where light enters most clearly. And when you begin to look back, you will not only see what you have gone through, you will see something greater. Every step you thought was misdirected, every moment you believed you were delayed, every tear you thought was meaningless, all of it has been woven into a process where nothing is wasted. Therefore, keep walking, not with the anxiety of needing to understand everything, but with the trust that there is one who understands it all for you. And in every step, I am still holding you, not only to keep you from falling, but to shape you into the person I saw long before your journey ever began. Thank you for listening to this message. Know this: you are not merely an audience. You are chosen to live daily in the presence of the Word of God. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss any spiritual message. Amen. My beloved child, before you come to understand the journey ahead, I want you to pause here at this place where stillness is not emptiness, but the ground where the deepest things are revealed. There were moments when you thought your days passed without meaning, when quiet hours went unseen, when nights found you wondering whether you had been forgotten in the vast current of life. Yet I tell you this: not a single moment of your life has fallen outside my sight. As it is written, even the very hairs of your head are all numbered, Luke 12:7. This is not merely comfort, it is the unshakable truth that every step you take, every breath you draw, is held within my unceasing attention and care. And then, within what seems small and unnoticed, you begin to sense a subtle, stirring something you cannot quite name, yet cannot deny. Do not rush to dismiss it. It is not imagination. It is a calling rising from the depths. from the place where your soul was marked from the very beginning. As it is written, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Jeremiah 1:5. You are not lost, you are being awakened. What is rising within you is a sacred remembrance of the purpose you have always carried. A promise planted in you long before you came to understand yourself. You may not realize it, but it is often in your weakest days that I am working most deeply within you. When you feel weary, when your heart grows heavy over what is yet to come to pass, when you question why the journey seems so long, this is not delay, but preparation. As it is written, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. I am not in haste with you, for I am not only bringing you to a destination, I am shaping you so that you can carry what I am about to entrust to you. Obedience, my child, is not the loss of your authority. It is the returning of your direction into the hands of a greater light. When you choose to listen to my whisper instead of the noise of fear, you are not losing yourself. You are rediscovering who you truly are. You have carried judgments that did not come from me, wounds that caused you to question your worth. But I do not call you by what you have been through. I call you by what I have ordained. As it is written, all things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. Even what you once saw as mistakes is being woven into something good by my hand. You have not arrived at this moment by chance. There are things that have been appointed not to bind you, but to guide you. This very moment, the place where you now stand, is not accidental. It is the meeting point between the path you have walked and the future now unfolding. And I, who hold time itself, saw this day long before you ever knew it. As it is written, with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. 2 Peter 3:8. This means there is no delay that exists outside my design. But my child, what I seek from you is not perfection. I do not require that you understand everything before you take a step forward. What I seek is a willing heart, a heart that dares to believe even when it cannot yet see clearly. A heart that chooses to move forward even without having every answer. For it is within that simplicity that the door will open, a door that no force can shut. As it is written, see, I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. Revelation 3:8. And when you step through that door, you will come to realize that what you have been searching for all along was never outside of you. It has always been within you, waiting to be awakened. The light you once believed you lacked was, in truth, placed within you from the very beginning, yet it requires obedience to ignite and trust to be made manifest. Do not fear the darkness you have passed through, for it has become the very backdrop that allows your light to be seen more clearly. I have seen you in the days when you believed no one noticed. I have heard you in the moments when you thought no one was listening. And I have held you in every instant when you felt like giving up. You are not unknown. You have not been forgotten. You are part of a design far greater than what you can presently comprehend. So continue forward, my beloved, not because you have suddenly become strong, but because you have learned to trust. Not because you can now see the entire path, but because you know the one who leads you. And with every step you take, remember this: I am not only ahead of you, I am with you, within you, and working through you to complete the good work I have begun. My beloved child, there are moments you cannot explain through reason, an inner stirring so deep, it feels as though something within you has been called forth from a place long asleep. Do not rush to dismiss this sensation. It is not a passing impulse, nor a fleeting emotion. It is the touch of something deeply familiar, something you once belonged to, yet which has been veiled by time and the weight of wounds. When your soul trembles in such a way, it is because truth is entering a truth not born of the world, but from the foundation I established within you from the beginning. As it is written, deep calls to deep. Psalm 42:7. The depth within me is calling to the depth within you. And your soul responds, not with words, but with recognition. You may have thought that your life was nothing more than a sequence of passing days, shaped by small decisions and seemingly random turns. But I tell you this, nothing in your life is accidental. Every step you have taken, every pause you have made, every tear you have shed, all of it belongs to a greater journey. One you did not author, yet one that has been prepared for you. As it is written, in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Proverbs 16:9. You are not lost, you are being led, even when you do not yet understand it. I have been with you in the days you believed you were left behind, when you placed your hand upon your chest and questioned who you truly were, when you felt like a stranger within your own life. I did not depart from you. I held you in the silence, not because I had nothing to say, but because you needed to be prepared to hear. There are truths that can only be entrusted when your heart has become soft enough, open enough, and ready to receive them without distortion from fear or doubt. As it is written, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. It was within that stillness that I preserved your soul from breaking. And now, what you are feeling is not weakness, it is awakening. When you sense something reaching the deepest parts of you, it is not a sign of fragility, but evidence that the outer shell has begun to crack so that light may enter. You are being awakened from the false definitions you once accepted, that you are not enough, that you are unworthy, that you are insignificant. But I have never called you by those names. As it is written, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood. 1 Peter 2:9. Your identity does not come from what others have spoken over you. It comes from the word I have spoken over your life. Remember Samuel when he was still a child. In the stillness of the night, he heard a voice calling, yet he did not immediately recognize that it was me. He ran to Eli, thinking it was the voice of a man, but when he was guided, he learned how to respond. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. 1 Samuel 3:10. You, too, are in that very moment, a moment where the call does not come with loud sound, but with a quiet stirring within your soul. And what I seek from you is not absolute certainty, but a heart willing to listen. You do not create your own season. Just as a seed cannot force spring to arrive sooner, yet when the appointed time comes, nothing can prevent life from emerging. So it is with you. There is a season appointed for your life, a season in which what has long been sown within you will begin to rise and take form. As it is written, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3:1. And your time is not confined to the past, nor endlessly delayed. It is unfolding even now. I do not come to you in noise, for not every revelation requires thunder. There are sacred things that arrive in gentleness, so subtle that only those who truly listen will perceive them. When your heart trembles without clear reason, it is because I have touched you, not to bring fear, but to awaken you, not to confuse you, but to draw you back to what you were created to become. The flame I placed within you has never gone out. It may have been covered by disappointment, by moments when you doubted yourself, by words that caused you to withdraw, but it remains. And today, a wind has come, a wind of faith, of awareness, of courage to believe in what you cannot yet fully see. As it is written, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. Isaiah 42:3. I have not come to extinguish you, I have come to cause you to burn brightly. So do not return to what is behind you. Do not go back to the thoughts that once held you captive. You are no longer one who merely exists. You are being called to live with purpose. And what you are sensing now, though you cannot yet name it, is the beginning of a transformation that cannot be reversed. For once the soul is awakened, it cannot return to its former sleep. Listen, my beloved, not with your ears, but with your heart. And when you perceive that call, even if it is only the faintest whisper, respond, for I am calling you, not for some distant day, but for this very moment. And in your response, you will come to understand this truth. You have never been forgotten. You have always been chosen. And now you are beginning to become my beloved child. If there are days when you feel out of place within your own life, it is not because you lack belonging, but because your soul was never created to anchor itself to what is temporary. There is something within you of a different substance, a nature not confined by what fades. I have woven your heart with threads that do not belong to time, mercy that does not run dry, truth that does not change, light that does not dim, and a purpose far beyond what your eyes can see. So do not be surprised when the things the world calls enough fail to satisfy you. As it is written, He has set eternity in the human heart, Ecclesiastes 3:11. What you are longing for is not something small. It is the echo of eternity calling from within you. And when you look back upon the paths you have traveled, you may have once believed that there were seasons of emptiness, moments that carried no meaning, wounds that seemed to leave behind nothing but pain. But I tell you this, not a single part of your journey has been wasted. Everything, even the things you wish you could forget, has been gathered by my hand, like individual notes, to be woven into a prelude for what is yet to come. As it is written, For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for harm, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. You have never been overlooked in that plan. You have never been excluded from that story. You have always been within it, even when you could not yet see it. There comes a moment when your soul begins to remember, not through the memory of the mind, but through a deep recognition that cannot be explained. As light begins to enter places once covered by doubt and fear, you may feel as though you are standing before something both unfamiliar and deeply known. Do not turn away from that feeling. It is truth unfolding, layer by layer. As it is written, You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. That freedom does not come from outside, it begins within. When you come to recognize who you truly are. Remember the prodigal son. When he left his father's house, he believed he was pursuing freedom. But the further he went, the more he lost himself. Until one day, in his lowest place, he came to his senses and remembered who he was, a son, not a stranger. And when he returned, the father did not wait with accusation, but ran to embrace him before he could even finish his apology. Luke 15:17-20. So it is with you. What you are experiencing is not the end of a journey, it is a return. Not a return to something foreign, but to the place you have always belonged. I do not force you into this. I do not draw you by power or compel you through fear. I invite you with gentleness, with patience, with unwavering love. The place I am calling you to is not unfamiliar. It is a place where your name has been written from the beginning. As it is written, I have called you by name, you are mine. Isaiah 43:1. No one can take that from you. No one can erase what has been inscribed within my purpose. Do you feel your heart trembling? Not because you are weak, but because your soul is recognizing something real. As you stand at the threshold between what is familiar and what is unfolding, that trembling is not the sign of fear, it is the sign of life in motion. As it is written, For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1-7. What you are feeling is not diminishing you, it is expanding you. I see that you are beginning to see with different eyes, not merely the eyes of reason, but the eyes of the soul. You no longer ask, "Why me?" as you once did. Instead, a gentle whisper begins to rise within you. Perhaps I have always belonged to this. And my child, that is the truth. You are not misplaced. You have not arrived at the wrong time. You have not walked the wrong path. As it is written, the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37-23. All the scars you carry are no longer signs of failure. They are evidence that you have endured and are still standing. And now, I am gathering all those scattered pieces, not to remind you of your past, but to reveal a new image, the image of a soul awakened. You are no longer one who is searching, you are one who is being called. And as you stand within this very moment, you will begin to feel a quiet release spreading through you, gentle, unforced, not overwhelming, yet clear enough for you to know that something has shifted, not because your circumstances have suddenly changed, but because something within you has begun to recognize what has always been there. As it is written, the kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. I delight that you have not turned away from what is sacredly unfolding within you. For it is in this quiet obedience that what I placed inside you from the beginning begins to live again. It does not come from the outside, it rises from within, from the deepest place you once hesitated to touch. And if you listen closely, you will realize that this movement does not need noise to prove that it is real. So remain in this stillness. My beloved, do not rush to chase answers. Do not allow doubt to cover what you are sensing. Let that inner stirring lead you deeper, step by step, layer by layer. For I am here, not to push you away, but to draw you inward. And the place I am leading you to is the place you have always belonged. My beloved child, there are sounds that never need to be spoken aloud, yet your soul recognizes them with clarity, like a familiar melody echoing from a place both distant and near. You did not learn it from the world, nor did anyone teach you how to hear it, for it was placed within you before you were formed. When I was weaving you in the hiddenness of light, I breathed into you a part of my own breath, a sacred awareness that cannot be extinguished. As it is written, then the Lord God formed man and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living being. Genesis 2:7. What you are sensing is not something new, it is something ancient being awakened. A call that has always been present, waiting for you to become still enough to recognize it. And so, when desires rise within you that the world cannot satisfy, do not be quick to think that you are asking for too much. You were not created to be filled by what is temporary. You were formed with a space shaped like eternity. And only when you touch what belongs to me will you truly find rest. As it is written, my soul thirsts for God, my soul longs for you. Psalm 42:1-2. Those longings are not signs of lack. They are evidence that you were made for something greater than mere existence. You may wonder why you perceive things others do not. Why what seems ordinary awakens such depth within you. It is because you do not see only with the eyes of the flesh, but also with the sight of the soul, the sight I have opened within you. As it is written, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, but God has revealed it to us by His Spirit. 1 Corinthians 2:9-10. When you sense potential where others overlook it, it is not illusion. It is resonance between your soul and what I have ordained. I did not plant that calling within you to confuse you, but to guide you. It is not a test for you to prove anything, but a thread that connects you to what you have always belonged to. When your heart stirs in response to something others may dismiss as unreasonable, it is not misalignment, It is a sign that you are hearing what not everyone can hear. And when you pause, when you choose to listen instead of rushing past it, the seed I have sown begins to break open. As it is written, the seed sprouts and grows, first the stalk, then the head. Mark 4:27-28. I do not work in haste, I work with certainty. You do not need to understand the entire path in order to begin walking. I do not require that you see the destination before you take a step. I ask for one small yet precious thing, your consent. A quiet yes in faith. A single step in obedience, and what I have prepared will begin to unfold. As it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3-5-6. You do not need to chart your own way, I have gone before you. When you choose trust over doubt, surrender over resistance, you will begin to see everything shift, not because the world around you suddenly changes, but because you are stepping into the rhythm of heaven. You will no longer have to chase opportunities as before. Doors will open at the appointed time. Paths will appear when you are ready to walk them. As it is written, I will go before you and level the mountains. I will break down gates of bronze. Isaiah 45:2. So, my beloved, do not fear the call that is rising within you. Do not turn away from that inner stirring. Let it lead you deeper, not through force, but through trust. What you are sensing is not imagination, it is life awakening. And as you follow it, you will discover that you are not stepping into something unfamiliar. You are returning to what I sang over you when I created you. I smile as I see you beginning to respond, for I know that no one else can do this in your place. Obedience cannot be borrowed, nor can it be transferred. It must arise from within you, from that quiet decision known only to you and to me. Yet do not be afraid, for though you are the one who steps forward, you will never walk alone. As it is written, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. With every step you take, I am already there, not merely observing, but sustaining and guiding you. As you begin to move, you will come to realize something profound. It is not only you who is moving, the heavens themselves are set in motion. What once seemed random will reveal itself as intentional. Doors that appeared closed will open at the appointed time. For I do not require you to become someone else. I do not ask you to take on a form that is foreign to you. You already carry greatness within you from the beginning, my word, my breath, my purpose. As it is written, we have this treasure in jars of clay. 2 Corinthians 4:7. Your value does not come from outward appearance, but from what I have placed within you. Remember David, when he was still a shepherd boy, no one imagined he would become a king, but I saw what others could not see. And when he stepped forward to face Goliath, he did not carry another man's armor, he carried his trust in me. And it was that trust that enabled one who seemed small to overcome what an entire army feared. 1 Samuel 17. So it is with you. You do not need to become someone else to fulfill what I have entrusted to you. You only need to walk with what I have already placed within you. And my child, as you draw nearer to what I have ordained, do not be surprised if challenges begin to rise. There will be days when everything seems to stand against you. Moments when you feel attacked at your weakest, yet this is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. As it is written, we must go through many hardships to enter the kingdom of God. Acts 14:22. Obstacles are not evidence of failure, they are signs of nearness. The enemy does not concern itself with those who drift without direction. But when a soul begins to awaken, when a life begins to step into what has been appointed, opposition will arise, not because you are weak, but because what you carry is powerful. As it is written, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life. John 10:10. The resistance you feel is not random, it is a response to the light rising within you. The light you carry is not something newly given in a recent moment. It has always been there waiting for the time you would recognize it. And for that very reason, darkness cannot tolerate your presence when you begin to walk in that light. When you stop hiding who you are, when you no longer apologize for what I have placed within you, when you begin to declare what I have spoken over you, everything begins to tremble. As it is written, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. The closer you come to the place I have prepared, the stronger the opposition may appear, but also the more futile it becomes. For what I have begun in you, no one can stop. As it is written, he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1-6. My plan does not depend on your perfection. It is secured by my faithfulness. My beloved, there may be moments when you look around and see others moving forward with ease, receiving what you have quietly prayed for over a long time. And within you rises a silent question, why not me? But I tell you a truth that does not change. You have not been forgotten, and you have never stood outside my plan. What you are waiting for is not something temporary that the world gives lightly. What is prepared for you carries the depth and weight of eternity. As it is written, our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Romans 8:18. What I am preparing does not come merely to fill a momentary void, it comes to shape an entire life. Not only for you, but for those who will be touched through you. You may have felt as though you stood on the sidelines, watching others be lifted up, called by name, given open doors, while you remained quietly in the background. But my child, that silence was not abandonment, it was preparation. The years you were not seen were the very years I was building a foundation that human eyes could not perceive. As it is written, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. What is overlooked in the eyes of the world becomes central in my hands. You have not been hidden in vain, you have been preserved for the appointed time. The enemy does not only seek to wound you, it seeks to make you forget. It tries to distort the image I have placed within you, causing you to see yourself through the lens of failure, of lack, of opportunities that seem to have passed you by. It whispers that you are not enough, that your time is past, that you were not chosen. But I tell you this, those words hold no authority over you. As it is written, for God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Romans 11:29. What I have ordained for you is not erased by your mistakes, nor delayed by your stumbles. Do not be afraid when you feel the pressure increasing. Do not assume that closed doors are a sign you are on the wrong path. As it is written, your faith of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may be proved genuine. 1 Peter 1-7. Trials do not come to destroy you, they come to reveal what I have placed within you. Light does not grow stronger through ease. It is made most visible when it passes through darkness. I do not stand far from you in those seasons. I do not watch you with accusation. I am there in every step you take, in every tear you hide. As it is written, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34-18. I do not lead you into trials to cause you to fall. I allow you to walk through them to reveal that what is within you is greater than what comes against you. And if you still question whether you are truly called to something greater, then look at your own life. Your perseverance when no one sees, your kindness when no one responds, your faith when everything seems to stand against you. These are not small things. They are the marks of a soul destined to influence. As it is written, you are the light of the world. Matthew 5:14. Light is not meant to be hidden, it is meant to shine. The enemy does not pursue what is ordinary. It does not concern itself with what carries no influence. But when a soul bears within it the power to shift the atmosphere wherever it stands, opposition will arise. not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous to darkness. Yet you do not need to fear this. Light does not need to fight in order to exist. It only needs to appear. So keep moving forward. Do not stop at the sight of the waves. Do not let what you see cause you to forget what you know. You were not built upon what shifts, you were established upon what cannot be shaken. And what I have placed within you will not be stolen away. And when you begin to understand that all opposition is not meant to extinguish you, but is a response to what you are becoming, you will step into a new kind of freedom, a freedom that does not come from circumstance, but from awareness. You will no longer fear darkness, because you know the light within you is greater than it. I have never looked at you through the lens of condemnation. I do not stand at a distance measuring you by cold standards. I see beyond the layers of hurt, beyond the seasons when you believed yourself lost. And I behold what still shines within you, the light that has never gone out. As it is written, people look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. You may see fractures, but I see openings through which light can shine more powerfully. What you call brokenness, in my hands, becomes a place where glory is revealed. You once believed you had to hide the unfinished parts of yourself, to strive in order to prove that you were enough. But I do not work in that way. I do not choose those who believe themselves perfect. I choose hearts that are willing to open. As it is written, my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. In the places where you feel lacking, I will make you whole. In the places where you once felt shame, I will cause light to rise. I do not need you to conceal. I desire you to be real. Darkness does not fear empty words. It does not tremble before what exists only on the surface, but it trembles before a living soul, a soul that has passed through brokenness and still rises, that has wrestled with doubt yet still chooses to believe, that has known weakness yet continues to move forward. As it is written, they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Revelation 12:11. What you carry is not theory. It is living truth. Formed through every moment, I lifted you up again. When you continue to pray without yet seeing the answer, when you still choose to love after being wounded, when you hold on to hope in the midst of dark days, that is when the light within you burns most brightly. And it is this that makes darkness unable to control you. For true light does not come from perfection, it flows from your connection with me, the source of light that never fades. You carry my image within you, not as a distant idea, but as a living reality. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of resentment, patience instead of haste, every time you stand for what is right, even when no one sees, that is when you reflect me. As it is written, we all are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory. 2 Corinthians 3:18. That transformation does not happen in a single moment. It unfolds step by step, day by day, through quiet choices. I know there are times when you cannot see that light. You see only the storm, the chaos, the unfinished places. But my child, light does not depend on circumstances. It does not require a clear sky to shine. It only requires that it not be denied. As it is written, the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. 1 John 4:4. The light within you is not small. You have simply not yet learned to see it through my eyes. And now, as you begin to release judgment against yourself, as you learn to look back with compassion instead of harshness, you will begin to see what I have always seen. You are still shining, not because you have done everything right, but because I remain within you, and I never withdraw my light. My beloved, look back at all that you have passed through, not with regret, but with a growing understanding. The things that once wounded you, the shadows that once covered your soul, no longer hold you captive. I am turning those very places into fertile ground where your light can grow stronger. As it is written, the path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Proverbs 4:18. The light within you is not fading, it is being clarified, lifted, and revealed through the very journey you have walked. Do not allow the darkness that once touched you to become your definition. It never held that authority. You are not defined by what tried to cover you. You are defined by the light that remains, whole and unextinguished. And if you are still standing, still listening, still holding even a fragment of trust, even when you do not yet understand, then that is living proof that the light within you has never gone out. As it is written, a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. Isaiah 42:3. I have not come to judge you for what you have endured. I have come to fan into flame what still burns within you. And as that light within you grows clearer, something deeper begins to unfold. Not from the outside, not from a distant place, but from the innermost part of you. There are things that have always been there, yet were hidden beneath layers of doubt, shame, and the words you once believed about yourself. But now, as you no longer turn away, as you dare to look within with gentleness instead of judgment, what was hidden begins to emerge. As it is written, the kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. What you are seeking is not ahead of you, it is being awakened from within. I did not lead you to this place so that you might simply understand something with your mind. I have brought you here because you are standing at a crossroads where truth is no longer a concept, but becomes life itself. What once delayed you, led you in circles, or made you feel lost was not meaningless error. It was a process of refinement. As it is written, he will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. Malachi 3:3. I held you in those silent places not because I was absent, but because you needed to become deep enough to hear me more clearly. My child, what I desire to reveal to you is not a new treasure given from the outside. It is a key to unlock what your soul has always known, yet has forgotten. When you saw yourself through the lens of your wounds, you believed that truth was too great, too distant, not meant for you. But now, as light has touched every hidden corner, you begin to realize it never left you. As it is written, the anointing remains in you. 1 John 2:27. I do not place something within you only to abandon it. I preserve it until the day you are ready. There are truths that cannot be fully expressed in words. They do not need to be explained, they must be recognized. And I know that you are beginning to feel this. Something both familiar and unfamiliar is unfolding within you. A transformation that is quiet, yet powerful. Do not fear it. It is not something foreign entering you. It is what is real, rising to the surface. Remember the two disciples on the road to Emmaus. When I walked with them, they did not recognize me at once, yet their hearts burned within them as I spoke along the way. Luke 24-32. They did not understand everything, but they sensed it. And when their eyes were opened, they realized I had been there all along. So it is with you. What you are feeling is not illusion. It is the sign that you are drawing near to true recognition. My beloved, there were times when you heard whispers that weighed heavily upon your heart telling you that I had forgotten you, that if there were truly a plan, you would not still be standing here in silence. But those voices do not speak truth. I have never turned away from you, and your waiting has never been in vain. As it is written, the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Isaiah 30:18. That waiting is not punishment. It is the space in which I prepare you, shape you, and deepen the soil of your heart so you can receive what would have been too much for you to carry too soon. There are seeds that cannot sprout in haste, They require stillness, depth, and time to take root. So it is with you. In the days when you believed you were being held back, I was sowing within you what cannot be seen with the natural eye. As it is written, those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:5. Your tears have not fallen to the ground in vain, they have seeped into hidden places, nourishing what will bloom at the appointed time. And now, as your heart begins to soften, as you no longer resist what you do not yet understand, that which has been planted begins to emerge. You are not late. You have not been left behind. You have arrived at the moment I appointed from the beginning. As it is written, there is a time for everything, a season for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Your time has not been lost, it is unfolding. But, my child, what I am revealing to you is not meant to be held in fear. The truth you are receiving is not a treasure to clutch in anxiety, it is a light to walk in. As it is written, you are the light of the world. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Matthew 5:14-15. What I have placed within you is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to shine, to reach, to awaken life in others. I know that as you begin to perceive this, your heart may tremble, not because it is dangerous, but because it is holy. And what is holy often makes one feel unworthy. But you must understand this. I do not wait for you to become enough before I give. I give so that you may become enough. As it is written, my grace is sufficient for you. 2 Corinthians 12:9. That trembling is not weakness. It is the sign that something sacred is coming alive within you. Remember Isaiah. When he beheld my glory, he cried out that he was unworthy. Yet I did not cast him aside for that. I purified him. And then I asked, whom shall I send? And he answered, here am I. Send me. Isaiah Namdalavant. His readiness did not come from perfection, but from a heart that responded. So it is with you. I am not seeking a flawless person. I am seeking a willing soul. When you no longer hide, when your soul opens fully, a current will begin to flow, the current of the purpose I placed within you from the beginning. You will not merely understand truth, you will live in it. It will shape your words, guide your steps, and extend through everything you touch. I did not form you carelessly. Not a single detail within you is unnecessary. The things you once thought were weaknesses, the traits you tried to conceal, even the scars you carry, all of it exists within. My intention, as it is written, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. You are not an unfinished draft. You are a work being revealed in parts, according to the time I have appointed. I did not create you by accident. Nothing within you is excess or without meaning. The qualities you once labeled as flaws, the abilities you have not yet fully understood, even the marks left by your journey, all were placed within you with purpose. As it is written, all the works of the Lord are faithful. Psalm 111:7. You are not a defective being in need of correction. You are a design unfolding, piece by piece. In the time I have set, that identity does not shift with circumstance. It does not depend on external affirmation to exist. It does not tremble before the words of others. As it is written, God's solid foundation stands firm. Sealed with this inscription, the Lord knows those who are His. 2 Timothy 2:19. Though you have passed through seasons of doubt, though there were moments when you forgot who you were, the light within you has never disappeared. It has not weakened. It has only been covered, waiting for you to pause, to listen, and to agree with it. And that agreement is the key. When you say yes to what I have placed within you, when you accept your true identity, darkness can no longer name you by failure. The burdens that once pressed upon you begin to lose their weight, not because they vanish at once, but because you no longer see them through the same lens. As it is written, "If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." John 8:36. Freedom does not come from changed circumstances. It comes from recognizing who you are in me. I know you have asked yourself, am I truly called? Or is this only imagination? But consider this, if you carried nothing of significance, darkness would not trouble itself to make you doubt so deeply. If you were not drawing near to truth, you would not feel the pull of voices trying to hold you back. As it is written, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy." John 10:10. The doubt you face is not proof that you are wrong. It is a sign that you are approaching what is right. Now you stand at a threshold, not of space, but of awareness. On one side is the person you have been accustomed to being, shaped by old definitions and limitations. On the other side is the person you are truly called to become, the one who carries the identity of light, no longer hidden. I do not force you across. I wait for you to choose. As it is written, choose life, so that you and your descendants may live. Deuteronomy 30:19. My beloved, I did not create you to be a copy of anyone else, nor did I place you in this world to conform to patterns the world has declared right. You were made to reflect a distinct part of me, a facet that cannot be fully expressed without you. As it is written, there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. 1 Corinthians 12:4 and 2. What you carry is not for comparison, it is for expression. And when I call you chosen, it is not merely a word of affection, it is a commission, a trust I have placed within you from the beginning. I have placed within you not only the breath of life, but also the sound of my own voice, a melody not of this world, yet resonating through every rhythm of your being. Whether you have recognized it or not, your soul has never been silent. It has always moved in harmony with the cadence of heaven. And now, as the layers that once veiled you are being lifted, that resonance will no longer be restrained. As it is written, sing to the Lord a new song, Psalm 96:1. That song is not merely something you sing, it is your life. As you walk in what I have placed within you, you will not be known by the burdens you once carried, but by the life that flows from you after you have passed through them. Not because you never stumbled, but because you rose again. Not because you were without wounds, but because you allowed light to pass through them. As it is written, we are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, struck down, but not destroyed. 2 Corinthians 4:8-9. This is what forms your testimony, a testimony that cannot be denied. Your name is not what the world has called you. It is not defined by misunderstandings, by being overlooked, or by places where you were wrongly positioned. Your name has been written in light, spoken in life, and preserved by grace that never runs dry. As it is written, to the one who is victorious, I will give a new name. Revelation 2:17. Your true identity does not tremble before circumstance, it stands firm in what I have spoken. You have been misunderstood, placed in spaces that did not belong to you, and at times you have felt like a misplaced fragment within the larger picture of life. But my child, that is not the conclusion. It is only the opening of something deeper. You were not brought here merely to understand yourself as an idea, but to fully live what has been inscribed in your soul from the beginning. When truth begins to flow within you, like a quiet yet unstoppable stream, when light is no longer resisted, your journey does not end at standing firm, it moves into walking, not as one who has merely escaped darkness, but as one who carries light that causes darkness to retreat. I am not calling you to struggle in fear, but to carry a light that cannot be imitated. That light does not come from your own strength, nor is it the result of striving to prove yourself. It is born from the places where you were once crushed but not destroyed, from the places you thought were endings, but I transformed into beginnings. As it is written, we have this treasure in jars of clay, to show that this all-surpassing power is from God. 2 Corinthians 4:7. Your fragility itself becomes the place where my power is revealed. One who illuminates does not need to shout to be heard. They do not need to prove themselves to be believed. They simply walk and their presence speaks. When they enter, darkness recognizes them, not because of noise, but because of essence. As it is written, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. True light cannot remain concealed forever. And my child, I am speaking of you. You are not one who stands aside to observe. You are one I have formed, restored, and now am sending forth. Darkness is not intimidated by outer layers. It is not shaken by what is artificial, but it trembles before a soul that has passed through suffering and still chooses to love, that has been pressed down yet still rises, that has been doubted yet still believes. As it is written, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. What you carry is not theory, it is life, and that life cannot be extinguished. You once thought that surviving was enough, that getting through one more day was enough. But my child, that season has passed. You are no longer in a place of mere endurance. You are stepping into a place of influence. As it is written, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew 5:4. What I have done within you does not end with your healing, it flows outward to touch others. What you have gone through has not been wasted. It becomes a language through which you speak to souls still lost in the very places you once stood. Remember the woman at the well. She did not have a perfect past, nor a position of recognition. Yet after encountering me, she did not keep what she received to herself. She ran, and through her testimony alone, an entire town was stirred. John 4:28-30. So it is with you, not because you have never fallen, but because you have been touched, and that encounter carries the power to transform. I see you. The light that was once hidden is now rising without apology. And I, who have kept you through the years when you believed you were forgotten, now declare you have risen, not with noise, but with presence, not because you know everything, but because you believe. As it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. Romans 1:17. Your faith is not merely words, it is movement. You are no longer at the beginning. You are standing at the threshold of a new season, a season not meant for retreat or hiding. This is the time to stand firm and shine without apology. As it is written, be strong and courageous, Joshua 1-9, not because fear has vanished, but because you know who is with you. My beloved, understand this. The souls around you will not be lifted by words alone, but by your very presence, a presence that has walked through darkness without being consumed, that has been tested without being lost. When they see you, they will not see perfection, but something deeper. They will recognize that the light within you is the same light that has been waiting for them. As it is written, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds. Matthew 5:16. You do not need to convince anyone, simply live in that light, and it will do the rest. So go forward, not in pride, but with a steady conviction that you know the one who has called you. Speak what I have placed within you, without adding, without diminishing, without hiding. Love without shrinking back in fear of being hurt. Carry that light, the light once buried, but never extinguished, into every place your feet touch. As it is written, The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. As you walk in that light, you do not live for yourself alone. You become a sign to others that they too are called, chosen, and able to rise. I see clearly the movement within you right now. It is not a loud storm, but a quiet breaking. The final shell is splitting, so that what is truly alive can emerge. You may not understand why your tears fall, why your heart tightens with a recognition you cannot name. But I know, for I am the one who placed that calling within you from the beginning. As it is written, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Proverbs 19:21. What you are feeling is not random, it is truth awakening. You were not created to live halfway, to exist in the shadow of others. I did not breathe life into you so that you would live a dim and muted existence. I chose you not because I lack others, but because no one else can carry the portion of light I have uniquely placed within you. As it is written, we are His workmanship, Ephesians 2:10. You are not a copy, you are a singular being, formed with intentional purpose. There were times you believed yourself too small, too ordinary, too easily overlooked in a vast world. Yet the very place you called ordinary concealed something extraordinary, not because you created it, but because I placed it there. And when you begin to see yourself through my eyes, you will recognize what you have never seen before. You have never been overlooked. As it is written, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. You once waited for someone to come and call you by your true name, to affirm that your life held meaning. But now, I am doing that. Not because you have reached a certain standard, but because the time has come. You remained when you could have left. You listened when you could have turned away. And that is what has opened the door. As it is written, those who seek will find, Matthew 7:8. You have sought, and now you are receiving. My beloved, you do not need to strive to become worthy before me. I have never placed upon you a standard you must chase in order to be accepted. Your value is not built by effort, it is established by the word I have spoken over you. As it is written, I have loved you with an everlasting love, Jeremiah 31:3. If my word is enough to create the heavens and the earth, then it is enough to affirm you without any need for the approval of the world. When you stop running from yourself, when you no longer seek validation from the outside, something begins to shift. The things that once hindered you begin to lose their weight, not because you have become stronger, but because you are now standing in the place that is truly yours. As it is written, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord. Exodus 14:13. The boldness within you does not need to shout to prove itself. The gentleness within you does not make you weak. That authentic presence is a strength that nothing artificial can imitate. There will come a day when you look back and realize that was the moment you truly began to live. No longer shaped by the expectations of others. No longer confined by old definitions. As it is written, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. 2 Corinthians 5:17. You are no longer standing behind. You are no longer waiting to be authorized. You have heard the call not from the outside, but from the deepest place within you. And once you have heard it, you cannot pretend you have not. You do not need to understand everything in order to become a source of light. You only need to live truthfully with the light I have placed within you. When you live from that reality, you will guide others naturally, not through effort, but through the life that flows through you. As it is written, rivers of living water will flow from within them. John 7:38. You do not need to force influence, it will flow. I see doors beginning to open before you, not because you have tried harder, but because you now carry the right key, the key of your true identity. As it is written, I have set before you an open door. which no one is able to shut. Revelation 3-8. When you walk where I lead, you do not need to force your way in, you simply step through. Your presence will begin to change the places you enter, not through pressure, but through light. You carry fire, but not a fire that destroys. It is a fire that warms, restores, and revives what seemed extinguished. As it is written, He heals the brokenhearted. Psalm 147-3. And I will do this through you. You do not need to proclaim that you are chosen. The way you live will speak for you. When you love without fear, when you forgive without holding back, when you remain kind in a harsh world, that is when you reflect me. As it is written, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. John 13:35. My beloved, those who are watching you are not waiting for perfection. They do not need a flawless life. What they long for is something real, a person who has been broken, who has doubted, who has stumbled, and yet still chooses the light. As it is written, we have this treasure in jars of clay. 2 Corinthians 4-7. Your fragility is what makes the truth within you visible. And in the places where you were weakest, I held you so that you would not be destroyed. Your influence does not come from what you have accumulated in knowledge, nor from how well you can speak. It comes from who you are when you are no longer afraid to be yourself. When you stop hiding, when you stop trying to become a different version of yourself just to be accepted, what I have placed within you begins to flow. As it is written, the truth will set you free. John 8:32. That freedom is not something you learn, it is something you live. So continue forward. Do not shrink yourself to make others comfortable, but do not try to stand out through noise either. You were not created to be small, yet you do not need to display yourself to prove your worth. Live from the deepest place within you, the place where you know you are held by me. As it is written, be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1-9. When you know you are not alone, you will walk differently. One who illuminates is not one who feels no fear. They still sense fear, but they do not allow it to define them. They do not need to fight darkness with their own strength. They simply step forward, and the light within them leaves no room for darkness to remain. As it is written, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. You do not need to destroy darkness, you only need to stand in the light. My beloved child, those who are watching you are not waiting for a flawless image, so distant that it feels unreachable. They are looking for something real, a person who has walked through brokenness, who has tasted doubt, who has stumbled, and yet still chooses the light. That is what reaches them. As it is written, my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Not because you have never been weak, but because you did not remain there. You have been held by grace, and now you carry that very grace within your presence. Your influence is not measured by what you know, nor by how many right words you can speak. It is found in who you are when you are no longer afraid to be yourself. So continue forward. Do not shrink back just to preserve comfort for others. But do not raise your voice to seek attention either. You were not created to be small. Yet you do not need noise to confirm your worth. Live from the deepest place within you, the place where truth has touched you and remained. As it is written, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. It is within that stillness that true strength is formed. One who illuminates is not one who feels no fear. They still experience fear, but they do not allow it to define them. They do not strive to fight darkness by their own strength. They step forward, and the light within them changes everything. As it is written, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. You do not need to fight to become light. You already are light when you live truthfully with what I have placed within you. I know the journey you have walked, the long silences, the unseen days, the nights when you were alone with your own thoughts. But it was there that I taught you, formed you, and held you when you thought you could not endure. As it is written, He guides me in paths of righteousness, Psalm 23:3. You were not forgotten in your solitude, you were being shaped within it. I did not lead you through all of this for you to hold the revelation as something private. I led you through it so that you would live in its light. As it is written, Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life, John 8:12. That light is not for you to store, it is for you to walk in. The time you are in now is no longer a time for hesitation. It is not a time to turn back and question whether you are enough. The veil between what you know within and what you live outwardly is growing thin, not to make you afraid but to invite you forward. As it is written, I have set before you an open door, Revelation 3:8. And you are not called to stand before that door, you are called to walk through it. I am not calling you to hide your light beneath hesitation. I am calling you to step forward not with noise, but with clarity, not with display, but with undeniable presence. As it is written, Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl, Matthew 5:15. Your light is not meant to be concealed, it is meant to shine. I do not require you to be perfect before you act. I do not wait for you to reach an ideal state before I send you. What I seek is a willing heart. As it is written, Here am I, send me, Isaiah 9:11. When you open yourself in that way, your voice will no longer be the guarded voice of reason, but the sound that rises from a heart, refined a heart that has learned to listen to me in stillness. I see the fire within you. I have seen you carry it through long stretches where no one noticed. But now, that light is no longer meant only to warm you. It is given to illuminate those who have fallen, those who wander in the same uncertainty you once knew. As it is written, Comfort others with the comfort you yourselves have received from God, 2 Corinthians 1-4. What you have received does not end with you, it flows through you. Do not step back when truth begins to feel heavy. It is not a burden, it is glory seeking to be revealed. As it is written, Our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory, 2 Corinthians 4:17. What you carry is not a weight meant to press you down, it is the weight of meaning. You are not alone in this journey. I do not place everything upon you and then stand at a distance. I am with you in every step. Yet you have your part, and it is more significant than you realize. A whispered prayer, a quiet act of love, a word spoken at the right moment, a touch filled with compassion. As it is written, Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, Luke 16:10. Nothing is small when it is done in the light. What you do, even when you do not see immediate results, still reaches souls you have never met. And those small rays of light, when gathered together, begin to dissolve the darkness. As it is written, The light shines in the darkness, John 1-5. Light does not need to be great to begin, it only needs to be turned on. So do not let fear extinguish what I have placed within you. Do not wait until you feel ready before you move. Do not think you need something more from the outside to be worthy of speaking what I have sown within you. As it is written, God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong, 1 Corinthians 1:27. Your authenticity, unpolished, unpretending, is enough. Let that light go forth. Do not keep it hidden in familiar safety. Let your life become a living answer, one that needs no explanation, yet cannot be denied. As it is written, Walk in the light, 1 John 1-7. When you walk, you do not merely carry light, you make a way. You are taking part in this sacred work not through pressure, but through love. And that is the only way I move. For through you, others will hear me. Through you, they will recognize that the light has never gone out. And through you, what was once hidden will be revealed, like a flash of lightning tearing through the night. So, my beloved, go, not to prove anything, not to become great in the way the world defines it, but to live in alignment with what I have placed within you. And as you live in that way, you will come to see I am speaking to the world through you.